hit record. I do record all of these meetings, and I will send a link to how you can see that recording by tomorrow morning. Usually it's the next morning following the session. If you have a session like you're going to on Thursday at 2 o'clock, then I'll have the recording out by that evening.
That sounds good.
Yeah, okay. Hold on a second. Let me get my things set up here.
David, this is Allie. Do you need me still?
I don't, Ellie. You're certainly welcome to sit in on the session if you want, but like I just told Phoebe, there will be a recording of it, and you're welcome to watch that too.
Great. Well, just give me a call later if you have any questions or anything for me.
Okay.
But I will turn it over to her.
Sounds good. All right. That shows you how long it's been since I've done an online session. I mean, you're actually my first tutoring session of the summer.
Yeah?
And they've changed this program, OneNote, so that they were forcing me to, wow. All right, we can figure it out here. Let's see. Okay, so solving equations with one variable, multi-step equations with one variable, and equations with the same variable on both sides using algebraic properties. Let's just try a few. And just work me through how you would solve this equation step by step. What would you do as a first step?
What would I do? I would subtract 9.
Okay, so the next line is this. And what would you do as a second step?
Divide by 3/7. I guess if you could do that.
That's correct, actually. It's a little confusing, though. What you're really doing, when you divide by 3/7, in other words, you're correct, I'm doing this. But what you're doing when you divide by a fraction is you're really multiplying by the reciprocal of that fraction, are you not?
Yeah, so multiplied by 7/3.
And that's really the better way to look at it. In other words, this dividing by a fraction is just kind of a wasted step. So what you want to always do when you're down to this where you have x with a fraction in front of it, then you're basically doing two steps at once. I'm multiplying both sides by 7 and I'm dividing both sides by 3.
Okay.
Okay. So that 7/3 cancels with that 3/7, and you end up with x equal, what's the easiest way to get that?
Can you do like 3 times 6 plus 7?
Well, you can do 7 times 6 divided by 3.
Oh, okay.
That's the long way to do it, is 6 times 7 divided by 3. And that'll give you 42 divided by 3, but then you might have to bring out your calculator, okay? So it's always worth simplifying these before you come up with an answer. In other words, 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I think that's what you meant to say, is do the 6 divided by 3, come up with 2, and now 2 times 7 is 14. No calculator required. Not as many chances for errors either. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. I've got to figure out how to work this new program here. I don't see where it gives me a new page. Okay. Well, I'll figure that out later. This works fine, doing it this way. All right. The other thing they wanted you to be able to do was to solve an equation that has the variable on both sides of the equation. So let's look at that. Here we have an n on both sides. So you can do this in one step or two steps, but give me the next line.
Would you subtract 5n from each side?
That's what I would do. And the reason I would do it that way, in other words, the thing you have to always, here, hold on a second. Let me close my window so I'm not doing a math tutoring lesson to the whole neighborhood. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, which side am I going to move the variable to, and which side am I going to move the numbers to? Because that's always what you want to do, is you want to gather like terms. And you want to put the variables on one side of the equation and the numbers on the other. And it really doesn't matter which side you put them on. The key, if you want to cut down on mistakes, the key is to make sure you have a positive coefficient in front of the variable. And I'm going to get that by subtracting 5n from both sides. Because that's going to give me 2n over there, and the 2 has a positive coefficient in front of, or is a positive coefficient. And since I moved my n's to the right, I'm going to move my numbers to the left, so what goes on the left side of the equation?
What goes on the left? Just 11, right?
Well, I've got this minus 9 I got to deal with.
Wait. Oh, you subtract.
They told me to do this in two steps. In other words, here's what I'm looking at. Okay?
Okay.
Now what?
You add 9 to both sides.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get at. Sometimes you can do those in a single step. Sometimes it's worth doing it in two steps. I'm a pretty strong advocate that it's worth doing math one step at a time, and that generally people get themselves in trouble by trying to do 2 or 3 steps at a time. And so if accuracy is your number one goal, then do these things one step at a time.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? Let me read this thing a little bit. If I had A equals BH, can you solve that for H?
No, I haven't learned this. Or at least I don't remember.
Okay. When we have a variable that we're solving for, even though it looks like we have 3 variables, doesn't matter. If I'm trying to solve for H, my goal is to get the last step to be this. Well, how do I do that? How do I get rid of the B?
Divide by B?
Yeah. So if I divide both sides by B, and always remember in algebra, you can do anything you want as long as you do it to both sides. There's your answer. That's what H is.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah,
okay,
H doesn't have to be a number. H is a function of A and B. It's just you have to get it isolated.
Okay.
That's always the way to deal with these. And I see another good one here in my book. Let's just make sure you can do this. You complicate it by putting all these negative signs in there, which is a good thing because that's what does complicate problems is all those negative signs. And that's what gives people the biggest trouble is all of those negative signs. So what's the first step here?
Distribute?
Yeah, I like to think the first step is to get rid of the parentheses. And you do that by distributing. In other words, for me, when I think about solving an equation, I'm going to get rid of denominators and I'm going to get rid of parentheses. That's going to almost always be my first two steps. And it doesn't, sometimes the order matters, sometimes it doesn't. But always be thinking that way. Get rid of parentheses, get rid of denominators if there are fractions.
Okay.
So distribute this. What do we have?
12x minus 20.
Keep going.
Equals 2 plus negative 16
Hold on.
minus...
Hold on. To what? You said plus. Do you mean x? In other words, when you multiplied this by this, when you distributed that, what did you get as an answer? What's minus 2? What's minus 2 times minus x?
2x.
Yeah. And then distribute it to the other term. What is that equal to?
2x plus negative 16.
Or just 2x minus 16. We don't need that extra plus sign in there. In other words, when you have a plus and a minus sitting together like that, it's just the minus. And then I still have this minus 6x over there. Okay? So this is a lot simpler than what we started with. This now is the level of the previous problem, where now is all you have to do is gather like terms, put all your variables on one side, all your numbers on another. So you can do this in as many steps as you want, but what's a next step?
You could add 6x to each side.
Okay, I'll go for that. And now what?
You could add 16 or 20. Like, let's say 16.
Which one? You know what? Figure out which side your variables are going to be on first before you figure out which the other one to do. Because it matters. Because you want your numbers to be on the other side of the equation as your variable, right?
Okay, so you'd probably want to add 20 then.
Okay, so yeah. I would do the variable first. In other words, I would subtract 2x, but you can do these in either order as you want. There I've added 20 to both sides. And now finally,
you subtract 2x.
Yeah, well, not finally, but now you get that. Now finally what?
You divide by 16.
So what does that simplify to?
X, yeah, I don't know what 4 divided by 16 is.
Okay, let's talk about simplifying these things. When you're trying to simplify a fraction, what you're looking to do is there a number that divides into both top and bottom?
2, so it would be 2/8.
Okay, now is there a number that divides into 2 and 8?
Yeah, it would be 2 again, so 1/4.
There you go. That's how you do it. Now, you can do that in 1 step faster than 2 steps, as long as you see that you can divide top and bottom by 4 to begin with.
Okay.
But you don't have to cut it in half and then cut it in half again, although that works. You got to the right answer. But with math, anytime you can do things quicker, and by quicker, when I say 1 step or 2 steps, that is quicker. Let me introduce you to a program that you might find extremely useful. I cannot think of anything that will improve your algebra more than this. And here, I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat window. You see it in the chat window? You might have to open your GoToMeeting control panel. I know for some reason tend to minimize themselves.
Oh, yeah. I saw it.
Okay, now you see it? Click on it.
Okay.
And it should open that in your own window on your own computer.
Yeah.
Save it. Save that location as a favorite. And just go ahead and leave the name of it eMathLabs.
Okay.
Okay. Now, minimize that window or close it out. You don't need it open. We're going to do everything on my window. And I don't know if you figured it out yet, but your GoToMeeting window can be minimized. If you go up to the upper right where there's an X and then there's those 2 little arrows, if you click on that arrow, it minimizes it so that it doesn't take up so much of your screen.
Okay.
Okay. And now we should be looking at my page only. I'm just going to see, you don't have a calculator in front of you, do you?
I don't.
Good. I don't want you to.
Okay.
Okay. Give me the answer as quick as you can.
88. Negative, 15. -4. -3. 54.
Yeah, there's a trick with 9s. I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not. When you multiply a number by 9, the answer is always a number whose digits add up to 9. In other words, here, let me minimize this for a moment so I can explain what I'm talking about a little bit more. If I take 2 times 9, my answer starts with a 1, and the next digit has to be an 8 because those 2 numbers have to add to 9. If I take 3 times 9, first digit's a 2, always 1 less than this. Next digit has to be a 7 because they have to add to 9. Well, we were doing 6 times 9. So we know the first digit's 5. Next digit has to be a 4. There is no easier multiplication tables to learn than your 9s tables because of that. And it doesn't matter how many digits you have. If you take 12 times 9, you get 108. Well, those digits add to 9.
Okay.
Okay, so that helps. And I can't overemphasize how important these are to be able to do quickly. And you're actually doing pretty good. Let's just do a few more just to make sure you handle all positive and negative number combinations. Usually when somebody has a problem with algebra, it's a problem with this. Now,
Okay.
that didn't appear to be the case for you. So far you've gotten these pretty quickly and accurately. It's this one.
Negative. Yeah. 2. Oh, no, -2. 99. 16.
Okay, these are the ones that tend to give people problems, but
I gotta think about this one.
well, normally I don't think it's that important that you be able to do 2 digits divided by 2 digits. I really don't.
Okay.
Myself, even when I get to 2 digits divided by 2 digits, I use a calculator. What is completely different is 1 digit by 1 digit. Both being able to divide, multiply, add, and subtract positive and negative numbers and do it with basically 99% accuracy. That's a huge foundation for math. And if you don't have that foundation, you're going to have problems with all math above algebra. It's going to haunt you with geometry, trig, all of it. But luckily, you're pretty good at it. This is -7. What's this one?
-6.
Okay, yeah, you're pretty good with it. If I'd have known you were that good, I wouldn't have had you put it on your computer. I have people do that, usually because I suspect they're not that good. But you're pretty good with that. So let's leave that. We don't need to review that. And that's huge. I'm so glad. Because if a person's really not good with that, it takes a long time for them to be good. You'd have to spend a couple of weeks practicing maybe 10-15 minutes a night on that page that we were just looking at. But you're pretty good. Let's do one more problem. And I'll let you go since this is only a half-an-hour session. Remember when I said the first thing I think about when I see an equation is get rid of denominators and parentheses. Well, don't have any parentheses here. Can I, in one step, get rid of all 3 denominators? I've got a 3, a 4, and a 6. What can I do to get rid of all 3 of those denominators? And the other alternative is to start coming up with common denominators and adding these things. In other words, I could add that, and then I could add that, and then I could go from there. But really, you're going to see how much simpler the problem becomes if I can get rid of these 3 denominators in one step. What number can I multiply both sides of this equation by to get rid of the 3, the 4, and the 6?
Oh, well, I just thought that they were all common, like, multiples of
There
12.
they are, of 12. 12 is the magic number. I'm going to multiply the left side by 12, and I'm going to multiply the right side by 12. Now distribute and tell me what we have. What's that?
Okay.
Do that division in your head. Rather than giving me 12/3 x, I want you to divide 12 by 3 and give me what that number is.
I just thought of your trick. Sorry. I was like, I don't know how to do this. It's 4. It's 1/4. So yeah.
It's 4x. Okay?
Oh, it's okay. So it's just 4x. So you,
12x over 3. So I'm dividing 12 by 3. Okay? What's
got
the
it.
next term? What's 12
it's
times
3.
1/4? Okay? On the other side of the equation, what do we got?
2. Or x minus. Oh wait, do you do 12x minus 2?
There we go. Now look at how much easier the equation becomes.
Yeah.
We went from something that had 3 fractions and denominators that we didn't know what to do with to something that I know you know how to do that. We've done a couple of these already. So once you get it down to where there's no more denominators and no more parentheses, the equation tends to be pretty easy to go from there. One final question, which side am I going to put the variables on? Which side am I going to put my numbers on?
I would say the variables go on the right and the numbers go on the left.
Okay, and this is the one time I don't mind doing 2 steps at once. And you're absolutely correct. And I should do the variable first because I'm trying to put the variable on the side that will give it a positive coefficient. And that's what we have. When we put the x's on the right side, we have a positive coefficient, and then whatever the coefficient of the number is, it is. Okay? But that's the way to do these.
Okay.
Let's see. For Thursday, what is your phone number, Phoebe? Because from this point forward, all I will do is text the meeting ID number to your phone number right before a session, because it changes every time.
Okay. Sorry, I got a new phone, so...
I don't care what number. If you have a house phone that you'd rather me text it to, as long as it can receive a text, I can do it that way, but however you, or I can text it to your mom's phone, but I suspect she won't always be around your house when we have a session.
Yeah, my phone's upstairs, but could you just, how about I will text my number from my mom's phone to yours? Would that work?
Sure.
And then you would have my number that way?
Yeah, and I will text your number. I won't call.
Okay, that sounds good.
What'll happen is at about 2 minutes before 2 o'clock on Thursday, I will send you a text with the 9-digit meeting ID number. Okay?
Okay.
And at this point, you should have an icon on the desktop that says go to meeting. Looks like a flower. You see this one over here on my desktop?
Yeah.
Okay, you should have something that looks very similar to that on yours. And that's the way you start. You don't have to go to the website anymore. Just double click on that icon. It'll ask you for a meeting ID number. Put in whatever I text you, and we'll be in a session just like we were.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay? All right, Phoebe. I will talk to you on Thursday.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.